everybody out there in YouTube land. So today I am continuing my reviews of the 6-issue miniseries, Amazon's Attack. And today we'll be looking at issue 6, which is the final issue. It's been a pretty wild ride through these 6 issues. It's kind of amazing. There's been an entire war, Kansas was burned down, and everything else. So if you haven't read these books or haven't watched the first 5 issue reviews I've done, I would highly recommend it so you know what's going on with the storyline. I'll have links to the first 5 issues, which I have reviewed, in the description box, so be sure and check that out. Alright, this was written by Will Pfeiffer and penciled by Pete Woods, with colors by Brian Anderson. And a brief warning, this comic book miniseries contains scenes of blood and violence, so viewer discretion is advised. Alright, well, starting off, I love the cover. This is a great cover. This is probably my favorite cover of the series. I like it quite a bit. It looks really great. Everything is really centered perfectly. You know, it's just well drawn. I like Pete Wood's art style. Looks really good. And it happens in this book too. Hippolyta and Wonder Woman finally fight. So starting off on the first page. So on the first page there, you get the title of the issue, and it is called Pyrrhic Victory. So what a Pyrrhic victory is, it is a victory that inflicts such a devastating toll on the victor that it is tantamount to defeat. So someone that wins a Pyrrhic victory has been victorious in some way, though the heavy tolls negate that. So that's pretty interesting. Alright, and also, it's pretty interesting. You see the Lex News van, which is kind of interesting because not the first issue, but 2 through 5. The first page always had Lex News reporting, so it's implied here probably that they are not reporting anymore. So it's pretty hardcore, and we move on. On page 2, it's really intense. You see Hippolyta is here in the White House with all these dead soldiers around her, all the destruction in DC in the background. Again, I love Pete Wood's art. You can see how dynamic this is, the foreground and everything, and then out in the background you see the jets and the helicopters and stuff. And on the bottom here is a panel that shows different Justice League members along with Grace Choi, and yeah, Hippolyta is looking for Wonder Woman. On the next page you see that there too. She's still saying, "Where is my daughter?" And you see Wonder Woman there. She's flying to where Circe is. So she confronts Circe, and she says, "Circe, so you're still alive. Was death just another part of your plan? Did you think I wouldn't find out the truth?" And Circe is like, "You won't kill me. You're one of the good guys." And Wonder Woman's like, "You don't think I will, huh?" And she knocks her down, and she's about to stab her. But Hippolyta shows up, as you can see on this page. And she says, "Hello, daughter. I've been looking for you." And I wish you could see it in the full page like I can, but this second panel's really, really awesome. You see, it just says wham, and that's Wonder Woman. She's been knocked through the tower. She's on a second tower, and she's flying into a third tower where she comes to a stop. And then at the last panel, Hippolyta's right there on top of her. Tries to hit her with her sword, but Wonder Woman blocks it. So we have this really epic fight scene that goes for a couple of pages. It's back and forth. Wonder Woman gets in a good punch there and knocks Hippolyta back so hard she flies through this. Can't tell if I think it's a gate maybe, or a wall, but it's part of a building anyway. She knocks her into it and she flies through it. And then a jet comes flying out because Hippolyta picked it up and threw it and smashed through, and she walks through and says, "Still alive? I raised you well, too well." And she puts her sword to Wonder Woman's throat, and Wonder Woman says, "Go ahead, mother, do it." And she gives this little speech, and she says, "Give in to your bloodlust, show me that Circe's magic is stronger than you will, and your sense of right and wrong, your ideals, and all that." So she gives her the speech, and Hippolyta hesitates. I mean, she isn't going to kill her, and then Diana's like, "Circe's magic isn't working at the moment. Anything you do is your choice." So, as we see on the next page, everyone kind of pauses in the battle, I guess. It's real dramatic on the top page there, on the top panel, I mean. And they all stop and look at him. And then Hippolyta drops her sword, so falls with a thud. And everyone's real happy, except on this page you see Circe, and she says, You idiots, you really believe that this changes anything? It was never about you fools. Everybody lying broken on the ground, every drop of blood staining this pristine marble is all spilled in the name of vengeance against the gods. And she gives this little backstory speech about how she has a daughter, or Ares took the kid away and basically slighted her, and the other gods looked the other way on it, so she's mad. And to get revenge on the gods, she got this war to start up so the Amazons would fight and everything. So Batman tries to sneak up behind Cersei and gets zapped. I guess she has a protection spell around her probably. And he gets zapped and gets knocked back. So yeah, so yeah, it is her daughter. She says, the gods sanctioned the theft of my daughter, so I vowed to take their children from them. You Amazons will die for the folly of your deities when I reclaim my child. And she hits both of, she hits Wonder Woman with lightning, and then she grabs Hippolyta by the throat. And it looks like she's probably going to kill her, but, it mentions too that there was a tie-in. It says the tie-in is Wonder Woman 1 through 4. So like I said last time, if you're going to read Amazon's Attack, you might as well just read Wonder Woman as well. So we get this really epic page, and yeah, Cersei was going to kill Hippolyta, and then all of a sudden Athena shows up, as you can see on this top panel. And she says, this has gone far enough. I think it looks really cool the way she's drawn. It's really awesome. And she's got an owl with her, the symbol of wisdom. So Hippolyta falls to her knees and says, Goddess Athena, please forgive us. But Cersei's real cocky and starts talking to her, and she says, oh yes, please, mighty Athena, please do forgive us, because you can't do anything else, right? And then on the next page she says, look around you, bringer of wisdom, a city in ruins, dead bodies as far as the eye can see. 2 people ravaged, and who is responsible for this? A goddess? Mighty deity? No, I did this, while you did nothing, but you are as responsible for it. And then Athena gets really angry and opens a hole in the ground, and Cersei falls in. And Athena says, I have condemned you to Hades, Cersei. That must count for something pretty bad. I guess Cersei's in hell now. And Wonder Woman points at Athena and says, you're just responsible for this too. This is partially your fault. And then Athena kind of gives him a speech here, and she says, my children, instead of honoring the warrior's code, you gave in to hate and fear and cruelty. And she basically, she condemns them for this whole war. So she kicks the island of Themyscira out from under her protection, so it ends up rising up out of the ocean. I guess she moved it too. So Superman says, an island rising from the sea 93 miles off the coast. And then that's when they realize it's Themyscira. And so Wonder Woman says, you expelled Themyscira from your realm? Is that it? And Athena says, hardly. This is it. And looks like she transports Hippolyta, and she ends up back on Themyscira. But all of the other Amazons are gone too, and you don't know what happened to them right yet. So Athena says that the Amazons are no longer their children, and they're no longer our concern. So then she gives a speech to everyone else and says, let this be a lesson to you about, being hateful and going to war and all that. So, and being against liberty and freedom. So we get the next page, and she says at the top there, the war is over. Make the most of the peace before the next inevitable conflict begins. So they're all just standing there looking up to where she disappeared from. And Wonder Woman says she's right, the war is over. So we get the next page, and it's Athena there, and she's back at Olympus. And it's kind of interesting what she says, so I'll go ahead and read it all. She says, though it is hard to believe, the world did change. With the Amazons no longer part of the grand equation, humanity faces a more dangerous world. Of course, humanity being what it is, none of them have noticed. Some refuse to admit the truth of that human homily that you can't go home again, that all fail to notice that the greatest warriors this world has ever known are living right under their noses. Even the warriors themselves remain ignorant of their legacy, believe more than they are nothing more than human. So what's implied there pretty heavily, and I read the synopsis of this too, so I know that's what the artist or the writer was going for. But on the bottom panel, it shows a bunch of women doing cool stuff like playing sports in the Olympics, and one looks like she's a lawyer and stuff. So what's implied is the Amazons had been transformed then into mortal women, and they are, kind of the best among us. So goes to the next page, and she says, it's the narration here, and it says, the only one who knows the war changed everything is the woman who can't ever ignore those changes. So Hippolyta is on the island, but she's by herself, and she hasn't been changed, but she's ruling over nobody. So that's kind of her punishment. And then on the last panel there, it shows all of the Greek gods tied up behind her, chained up. And they're like, "Justice, you dare to speak of justice? You who imprison us? You who stole Athena's identity and left her for dead?" And the quote-unquote Athena says, perhaps you're right. Perhaps justice isn't the proper word, but you have to admit, goodness has certainly triumphed. So you get the big reveal on the very last page of the very last issue that it was Granny Goodness. She was behind everything. She orchestrated the whole war and did it to get the Amazons off the chessboard, so to speak. That's one of those things, you either love the story or you hate the story. A lot of people didn't like that at the end, the way it ended with Granny Goodness being the one who did it all. And they don't explain how she defeated the great gods or anything, which, you know, that could be a cool comic on its own. So I'm still digesting it, honestly. It's a pretty crazy book. It's one of those that it feels like it might have done, worked a little bit better if it had been a 12-shot instead of a 6-shot issue series. But yeah, I like it. I love the art Pete Woods did for this. I think it's just terrific. And the story's pretty crazy. I mean, you need an ultimate villain. It's almost like they went too big with it. Like, it would have been cool if it was just Cersei who had actually done all this, like Cersei thought. Or if some people were saying, well, it would have been cool if it was just the great gods and they didn't have that last panel and last page. But I don't know, it makes sense, Darkseid would have a really long-term scheme, I think, to conquer Earth. And yeah, taking out the Amazons would be a big part of that. So it's pretty interesting. Let me know down in the comments what you thought. And I guess that's all for now. We wrapped up all 6 issues. So I did a comic book haul yesterday. So I got Bane Conquest and some other books. So I'll be doing reviews on those, and I'm going to do another supervillain profile. I've got Psycho Pirate coming up next. And then I was thinking of doing some of the Fawcett Universe villains. Probably Mr. Mind or Mr. Atom. Mr. Mind would be cool. I like him a lot. He's pretty, I don't know, I think he's just kind of comical. A little worm who is a villain. I know he's an alien worm that's super intelligent, but a lot of people don't know about that character, and he's one of the ones I like. So I'll get around to doing a supervillain profile on him eventually. So yeah, any feedback helps me out a lot too. This channel's still really small, so your input can actually make a difference. If there's a particular review you'd like to see or something like that, let me know down in the comments. And as always, if you aren't subscribed, please subscribe. Feel free to share these videos. That helps me out a lot. And if you hit the bell next to the subscribe button, that will give you notifications that I've posted new videos. Alright, that's all for now, and thanks.
End of line.